Hey, what's up guys? Kane here with XBLA fans, and I'm going to be doing a little bit of a guide on pitching in Pennant Race. Now, one thing I want to make clear is that I could make an entire montage of me just striking people out. It would not be difficult to find the clips. I've had multiple perfect games with 15 strikeouts. The reason is because there are people who are hitting at this ego who cannot hit. It does not mean you did that great a job pitching. Some of these guys will never be able to catch a fastball. And I've included this clip just to prove the point. Every single pitch, straight down the middle, not using power, just giving him, a normal fastball. And the fact that he does not make contact once is why you see so many people saying that they have, perfect games. That is not good pitching. You need to find people who actually know how to play the game to kind of really go in depth on this. So these are both 3,000 level players, both of which were making constantly good defensive plays, constantly doing very intelligent base running, a lot of good things happening here. And that's why I'm going to use these guys as my example. So we're going to talk a little bit about pitching. First off, fastball is your number one go-to pitch online. Just to make that clear. Fastball is what you're going to want to rely on. When it comes down to it, you've got people who will bite at the junk, and you can normally get away with it, especially with, using a slider after a fastball. So if you notice in that second at bat, I started with an outside fastball. I intentionally went to an outside slider on the next at bat, hoping the guy would think that it was the same pitch. And that was the goal there. So when it comes down to it, that's the type of things you need to be thinking about. You need to try to avoid patterns. You need to try to not, botch your numbers like I just did there. Great fielding, Kane. Great fielding. This is perfect, though, because this gives me an opportunity to show you guys how to pitch with base runners. And that's kind of what we need here. You're not always going to be pitching with empty bases. You're not always going to be that lucky. And sometimes you need to know how to do stuff. This guy didn't know how to tag up. That made it really convenient. That honestly should have been a run. But I mean, hey, a lot of people still online don't do things correctly, even if they are actually pretty decent. Because, this guy was making diving catches all over the field. He had some really nice highlight plays. But again, this is focused on pitching, so what we're going to be doing is we're going to be relying on that fastball. I'm going to try to move it all over the place. If you notice, I'm pretty much never going to throw one down the plate. If you throw something down the middle of the plate, unless you're just trying to kind of showboat, I don't know why you're doing it. One thing that bugs me a lot that I see people do online is if you're going to pitch inside, don't pitch so far inside that the batter can't swing. In Major League Baseball, you pitch inside to kind of get someone off the plate a little bit, kind of scare them with a inside fastball. In this game, that's not really a thing. So if you notice, this is a lot of just basic fastballs here. The real trick between a good player and a great player, in my opinion, is the ability to work in some of the other pitches eventually. When you can get away with just fastball, there's no real need to go past it. Because if the guy can't keep up with it, you're going to be able to keep doing stuff. I'm actually surprised he grounded that out. Normally on a high pitch like that, they're going to go underneath it. And on a low pitch, they're going to do the opposite. Now, if you've noticed, this guy is swinging a lot at high pitches. And I think this is about the point where I figure that out. So because I can tell he's trying to kind of home in on that, I'm going to be able to use that to my advantage. Now, the question with this is, how long do you keep throwing something like that once you've figured that out? If I know he's going to keep chasing these high pitches, do I want to keep going there every pitch? Or do I want to wait and save it for an important moment that actually matters? And with this one, I think I just start going with it. But this is perfect because it's going to show you that eventually he's not going to chase it. This is also a really bad example of me not paying attention to where the runner was. Because that pitch worked like a pitch out, and I should have actually been able to throw him out at third. I'm playing as a team that does not have a good catcher, though. So honestly, I probably should have just pocketed the ball. especially since I know he's going to continue to swing at these pitches. Now, I mean, this is really, really key. If you figure out an online player will continue to give you free strikes, take them. You may not want to keep laying into it this hard because, like you're seeing, eventually he will realize. Thankfully, I mean, there's 2 outs, a guy on third. This is literally the last batter. If I could have got away with this, that would have been beautiful. But it kind of worked out. Now, this next game, I actually end up losing, but it's more because of my own bad mistakes than anything else. But this guy was actually really good and really aggressive online. It was great to see, and I think this is a pretty solid example of me pitching beyond just the fastball. That last guy, I was mostly relying on fastballs because he was not hitting them. If you can't keep up with them, there's no reason to change it up. But once you find a guy who actually can keep up with a fastball, you're going to need to start to get a little more creative. And that's really what's going to matter once you get to these higher egos especially. So like you can see, he's able to nail that pretty well. And I'm going to have to start worrying about that a little bit because he's clearly made it to where he can actually hit. And now that he's got a guy on third, I've got to really get out of this inning. So what I'm going to try to do here is I'm going to try this dirt pitch. This is my favorite pitch online. My absolute favorite pitch, because if they make contact, it does not go anywhere. There is no way to hit this pitch. And I am willing to just continue to sit here and test him. I want to find out. This is, the first inning. I don't know if he's going to continue to chase these. If he does, awesome. If he doesn't, oh well. And I'm willing to also walk a guy. So, I mean, I threw that up in the top end of the zone, but I was just kind of trying to figure out, okay, is he going to chase it or is he going to go for it? And it kind of worked out for me. Now, that was a terrible pitch, but thankfully because it was in the dirt, he had no chance to hit it. But if you notice, I'm throwing a lot of balls. This actually works a little better if you're playing as a team that has a better relief staff than what I have now. Because the only problem with this, and this is why I ended up losing this game, because I botched like 4 opportunities to score. We ended up going late into the game, and my relievers are not as good on this team as some other teams. Now, he tried to double steal. He didn't do it correctly, or I think he was just kind of hoping I'd throw it a second and he could get an easy, cheeky run. But that's not going to happen. I'm not that bad at this game. But honestly, I've done that to people the exact same way he has, and it has worked for me in the past. So, I mean, I really think that was intentional. But, like, what you're going to see is I'm having to throw a lot more out of the zone to this guy than I did the last guy. So you've basically seen a progression of 3 different people. The first guy that I showed in the clips where I threw straight down the middle was absolutely brand new. I don't want to say he was garbage, but pretty much garbage. Like, he doesn't know what he's doing yet. He's clearly at an ego he shouldn't be. The next guy, he was around the ego he should be, but obviously he's not a great hitter. And then this guy is actually a pretty good hitter, and that's why you're noticing I'm having to continue to throw the ball away from him. So when you feel like you go from games where you suddenly like strike everyone out and suddenly you get pounded, it's probably because you're pitching him the exact same way. You notice the difference between how I had to pitch these different people. The second guy, I just wanted to throw fastballs because I knew we couldn't keep up very well. And the thing is, if you throw a slider, a curveball, a slurve, a fork, it doesn't matter what it is, anywhere in the middle of the zone, that is going to get pounded by a good player. It is way too easy to hit. Now, this is called a pitch out. You're going to notice I don't have a good arm on my catcher. I threw a 0 ball. I still threw him out. If you throw a fastball, you're almost always going to be able to get the guy. And that's the real trick to this. If you throw a slider or a curveball in the dirt, almost always the guy's going to be able to steal. And you're going to want to watch for tendencies as well with that. Like this guy in particular, if he gets a guy on first base, he stole every single time. Did not matter. So it was really easy. I just throw 2 pitch outs. So, even if he didn't go on the first one, which he occasionally didn't, he'd go on the second one. So it makes it really, really easy. Now, I don't know if I'm going to have the clip all the way in here, but this game went pretty long. And I think I'm just showing through my starting pitcher. One thing you can notice is the way that pitcher stamina works in this game is your pitcher gets more tired depending on his mojo level. So each pitch is going to tire me out a little bit. There is no difference, to my understanding, between a power pitch and a normal pitch. However, if I'm on fire versus, jacked versus in the zone versus just normal, that's going to change how quickly I get tired. One thing you should remember, though, is think about where you're pitching and where they can theoretically hit the ball. If you're throwing it low, it's going to be a lot easier to hit the top of the ball. If you're throwing it high, it's going to be a lot easier to get underneath it. That's something that's pretty clutch, especially when you're trying to get a double play. On double plays, I really rely on those low sliders, low curves, and that pretty much guarantees that the guy is going to just make bad, weak contact. This is a good example of when you probably should have pulled your pitcher. I kind of left my guy in, and I just kind of wanted to see what would happen, and I just kind of got away with it here. I think I ended up going one more inning with this guy just because my relief staff on this team is that bad. But honestly, I could have been punished pretty hard there. I hope this helped out a little bit. If you guys have any specific questions, please do let me know. I'm more than willing to do a more detailed video. But this is just really, honestly, a good example of just kind of how you have to pitch versus different skill levels. So, like, the first guy, complete beginner, could not hit anything no matter where it's thrown. The second guy is pretty decent, but he's still not making great contact on fastballs. The third guy, honestly, was pretty good. This clip doesn't really do him justice because it doesn't look nearly as talented as he was. But thank you guys so much. I really do appreciate you guys watching these videos, and later.